What I want to do in this video is show the fallacy of the day-year principle, meaning that a prophetic day equals a prophetic year that is used by some organizations. There may be those that I'm not aware of that use it, but the three organizations that I am aware of that uses this day-year principle are the Jehovah Witnesses, the Worldwide Church of God, and Seventh-Day Adventist. Now, individuals use it and get it from these three different organizations, but as far as those individuals and the organizations they belong to using it, I'm not aware of any other organization that does it. As I set out to discuss the fallacies of this topic, let me point out several things first. The Bible nowhere supports a day-year principle. In other words, there's no place in the scriptures that where prophecy a day equals a year. It's just bogus. It's not there, as I will show in just a second. Those who use this unsupported principle do so to support their agenda-driven interpretation. In other words, they've already determined what the Bible is going to say, and now through their agenda-driven interpretation, they just have to find some place to make it fit. Now, there's two passages in the Bible, the two books of the Bible they use to try to show this day-year principle. And let me show you the fallacies of that. One is Numbers 14:34, where the people of Israel has sent the spies into the land after coming out and disobeying God and so forth. Numbers 14:34 says this: after the number of days in which ye have searched the land, even 40 days, each day for a year, shall ye bear your iniquities, even 40 years, and ye shall know my breach of promise. Now then, we know that this was 40 days and not, from Numbers 13:25, where it says, after they had been to the promised land, and they returned for searching the land for 40 days. Now, concerning Numbers 14:34, I feel one would be hard-pressed to consider that passage true prophecy. The way I see it, it is a judicial verdict being handed out to the people of Israel, or God's people, because of their disobedience to God. Now, to consider this in the following verses in Numbers 14:34. First of all, a day means a day in those verses. It doesn't mean a year. In other words, they searched the land out for 40 days. It means a day. It doesn't mean a year. Day means day, and days means days in there. They don't mean years. But the word year does mean year. Now then, if those people who use the day-year principle are going to be consistent, and they're going to call Numbers 14:34 prophecy, then they must be consistent and say that Israel didn't search out the land for 40 days. They actually searched it out for 40 years, in which we know from Numbers 13:25 it was only 40 days. If they're going to use the day-year principle and the day equals a year, then they must, if they're going to be consistent, say that Israel didn't search the land out for 40 days, as Numbers 13:25 points out. They actually searched it out for 40 years. And of course, anybody who knows the Bible knows that is totally ridiculous. They didn't search it out for 40 years. They searched it out for 40 days, as Numbers 13:25 says. So those three organizations need to be consistent. If they're going to use that to support a day-year principle, they must use the word years there for days and make it that they searched the land out for 40 years and not for 40 days. And of course, that's ridiculous. Now then, another verse they use is in Ezekiel 4:4-6. Now then, to me, again, this is not true prophecy in the sense of prophecy. It is again a judicial verdict being handed out on God's people because of their disobedience. Ezekiel is told to lay on one side for 390 days, and the other side for 40 days. Now then, what they want to do is, if they're going to be consistent in their day-year principle, they have to say this: Ezekiel had to lay on one side for 390 years, and the other side for 40 years, which is totally ridiculous. That means he'd have been switching sides for what is that, 440 years? I don't even think he lived to be that old. So I think you can see the inconsistencies with these organizations that have to use the day-year principle. In one place, if they're going to be consistent, they have to make the 40 days of spying out the land 40 years. And in the case of Ezekiel, he didn't lay on his side for 390 days. He laid on his side for 390 years, and then laid on the other side for 40 years. Seventh-Day Adventists, Jehovah Witnesses, Mormons, if you're going to be consistent, be consistent. You have to be consistent in the text as well, and say that he laid on his side for 390 years and the other side for 40 years. Otherwise, your principle just falls apart. Another thing I want to bring out is, and just show you the fallacy of this. In Matthew 12:40, Jesus predicted that he would be in the tomb for 3 days. That's a prophecy now. So if a day equals a year, is Jesus saying that he's going to be in the tomb for 3 years? You see, not only do they use the day-year principle wrong, but they use it in selective prophecies. They apply it to where they want to apply it, but don't apply it to where they don't want to apply it. Because we know that Jesus didn't stay in the ground for 3 years, did he? So the day-year principle is nothing more than bogus. It doesn't exist in the scriptures. Those who use it only use it to push their agenda-driven interpretation. It absolutely has no basis in the scripture whatsoever. Until next time, this has been Golly saying, God bless.